First of all, accreditation signifies the competency of an accredited conformity assessment body's ability to conduct the activities for which it is accredited for. And in that case, an accredited conformity assessment body needs to ensure that there is consistency on how it goes about executing its activities. As an example, when you look at the different conformity assessment bodies, whether it be a certification body, a laboratory, and an inspection body, at the end of the day, that inspection body would need to have a management system in place on how to ensure consistency of its activities. As an example, if a petroleum laboratory was to be accredited for particular methods, it needs to be remembered that it is not the method alone that produces valid results at the end of the day. Together with the method, there are other technical competency aspects that have to be considered. For example, the competency of personnel, the accommodation and environmental conditions, the equipment used, the measurement traceability to ensure that those results can be considered to be valid by virtue of being comparable to a recognized standard, the sampling process to ensure that the sample taken is representative and the integrity of that sample is taken in such a way that valid results are going to be produced, the manner in which that sample is being handled, the manner in which quality controls of the day are being conducted, being able to compare today's results back to the validated capabilities of the method, and lastly, the reporting of the results. In considering this set of competency aspects combined with the method, it shows that there would be a number of variables amongst those competency aspects for that particular laboratory to be able to produce valid results. It is for this reason that a management system needs to be implemented to be able to manage each one of those competency aspects and be able to manage all those competency aspects as a set or as a unit, thereby enabling that laboratory to produce valid results. Over and above the laboratory being able to produce valid results, documenting of the management system by a conformity assessment body ensures that there is dependable information and documented policies and procedures and processes that personnel can be able to use as a reference point in terms of conducting their activities. It also provides a good platform in cases whereby a conformity assessment body needs to change from one way of doing things and moving over to a new way of doing things. Because in that way, there is a document that can be dependable and be used as a reference point. Most of the time, facilities or conformity assessment bodies intending to implement management system tend to focus on the requirements of the standard of interest and attempt to write a management system on the basis of those requirements. But this is not the correct way of doing so, because if you approach or you start off by looking at the management system requirements, then that management system would be addressing the requirements but not necessarily the technical competency aspect of that particular facility or that conformity assessment body. What therefore needs to be attended to, or as a starting point, would be to focus on the technical competency aspects that are related to the conformity assessment's core business. Again, if we're to use an example of a petroleum lab, that method together with its related technical competency aspects, that particular lab would have to make sure that all those competency aspects are capable of producing valid results. Once each one of those technical competency aspects has been addressed, only then can that conformity assessment body be able to design a management system that addresses those competency aspects. In the absence of established competency aspects, the management system, yes, will meet the requirements of a particular standard, but will not be able to manage the technical competency aspects of that particular conformity assessment body. Once the technical competency aspects have been addressed and a management system has been documented, then that conformity assessment would need to consider the requirements of that international standard, to conduct a gap analysis and establish whether whatever practices, processes that have been implemented, are they in agreement with the requirements of the particular standard. And it will allow then the conformity assessment body to be able to close the gaps. Of importance as well is the understanding, the interpretation and the application of the relevant requirements of the standard, so that in addressing and documenting that management system, those requirements are interpreted correctly, and at the end of the day, the management system will be able to have an appropriate link to the competency aspects to which it has to manage. There is a saying that goes, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. It is therefore important for any conformity assessment body to ensure that there is a mechanism or mechanisms in place of measuring how effective the management system is, effective in a sense that the management system allows that particular conformity assessment body to be able to achieve its desired results. But as a balancing act to the effectiveness, efficiency needs to be considered as well. In so doing, various ways of measuring the effectiveness of the management system can be implemented, including internal auditing. During internal auditing, a conformity assessment body needs to be mindful of the maturity stages of its own management system and technical competency aspects. In other words, in each case internal auditing is being conducted, it should be ensured that the internal auditing process conducted is done with an objective of being able to lift the management system and the technical competency aspects from one level of maturity to the other. That therefore requires customized audits, but those audits, each time they are being conducted, they have to be supported by corrective actions that would ensure that there is no recurrence of those problems. And as the management system matures and the technical activities matures, that leads to the sustainability of that management system. Failure to do that, the management system collapse and the competency aspects collapse, and that particular conformity assessment body won't be able to continue in maintaining its accreditation and being able to provide the necessary valid results of its competency aspects.